everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Miley, and today I'm going to share with you kind of a story time, a little chat about something personal in my life. I'm in my couch corner. This is my specific corner that I bought this couch just so I could have a comfy corner to lounge around in, so Eric knows, the dogs know, this is my spot. So I thought this was the perfect location to do a little story time chat all about why I kept my last name. I kept my maiden name when I got married to Eric 4 years ago, and I've got lots of questions about it. I know it's kind of a non-traditional choice, and I wanted to kind of sit down and explain my reasons for why I did it. So before we go absolutely any further, I feel like I have to put a disclaimer at the beginning of this video to say, and I truly mean it, so please listen to what I'm about to say. This is 100% an individual choice. I truly believe that. I in no way want it to come across in this video that I'm saying that I think this is the best choice for women, or I think this is the choice that every woman should make, or every person for that matter should make, to keep their last name or change their last name. I don't think there's one right answer. I think people are totally different. People have different value sets, different beliefs, different things that are important to them. I fully support any person that wants to make the choice to take their spouse's last name or have their spouse take their last name. Both spouses hyphenate their names or combine their two names or create a totally different new last name that's like the Purple family or the Popcorn family or whatever it may be. I fully support each individual person's choice to decide what they want for their life and what they want their last name to be, if they even want a last name. Maybe they want to be like Madonna or Raven or Adele or Beyonce and be one person. Maybe they want to be the same person. Okay, wow, I'm getting a little existential with this. Existential? I don't think that's the right word. I'm getting a little out there with this. So I'm going to stop with that little tangent and just say this point of this is what I did. This was 100% my personal choice, and in no way do I want this video to come across as me being holier than thou or talking about this amazing thing that I did that was different than everybody, or that was the feminist way or the right way and that all women should do this or all people should do this. No, I don't freaking care what you do. People are going to say what they want to say, no matter what choice you make about your last name. And at the end of the day, that name means nothing to them. It has no value over their life. They don't have to carry that name, you do. So whatever choice you want to make that you feel comfortable with, that you feel exemplifies yourself, your values, whatever you believe in the best, freaking go for it, and who cares what anyone says about it. That's what I did, and I want to share my personal story with you about how I came to this decision and how it's affected my life, what it means to me, what Eric thinks about it, what my family thought about it, what we'll potentially do about our children's last name down the line if we decide to have kids. So stick around, because this is going to be a really juicy, kind of personal, more get to know me type video. And I'm honestly really excited to share it with you guys. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is why I decided to make this choice and what factors for me were important in deciding if I wanted to keep my last name or take Eric's last name. So really from a very young age, I just kind of always had this feeling, just kind of wanted to keep my last name. And I really thought back on this, and I don't think I saw some woman in television or movies do it and thought it was cool, or even knew someone in my real life that did it and saw it modeled to me. I just kind of always remember, as far back as I can remember, that it was a thing I wanted to do. And that's kind of always been in the back of my head, kind of always been my game plan in a really casual way. As I grew up and started to think about the things that were super valuable to me, the morals I stood for, the beliefs I had, my one tenet of life, if I could strip myself down to one thing, it would be feminism. So because of my really closely held beliefs about feminism and girl power and womanhood and whatever, I could go on for days talking about it. But because of all that, I kind of always struggled with the traditional idea that a woman should take a man's last name when a man and a woman get married. It just didn't seem fair to me personally to have to make that sacrifice, if you will. And I began to fight against that typical or traditional way into my teens and early 20s. And then when Eric and I got together and got serious, it was something I really started thinking a lot more about, considering really seriously, and delving further into why that was a choice I was considering. Another huge part of why I ultimately decided to keep my last name is because of what my last name means to me. My family is a huge part of my life, and not just my immediate family, like my mom, dad, my sister, and my brother, but my entire family, my grandparents on both sides, and my aunts and uncles and cousins. I love being with my family, and they mean so much to me, and having that connection to my family with the same last name was really important to me, to be identified as part of that group and from those people. It felt like I was giving up a piece of me to change that, and especially because Eric didn't have to give up his last name to get married to me traditionally in that sense. So it felt a little bit like I was taking away a part of me instead of adding to the love in the marriage and in bringing Eric into my family and becoming a part of Eric's family. So it just felt like an unnecessary change for me. It felt a little bit like giving up that family identity just to get married, and I didn't want to feel like I was giving anything up. I wanted to feel like I was adding to the family. So those are some of the main reasons why I personally made the choice to keep my last name. Those ideas are things that I spent a lot of time, had lots of conversations with trusted people about, and really weighed the pros and cons of everything to come to that decision, and didn't take any of it lightly. I want to stress that. And just because the reasons I mentioned worked for me and were important to me doesn't mean that if you chose the opposite, I think badly of you or I disagree with you or whatever. No, feminism says that we all have the choice to be whoever we want to be. And so I want to support you in whatever decision you made or are going to make down the line, and don't want expressing my opinions to come across as me telling you that you're wrong or you made the wrong choice. So once again, disclaimer number 2, please take that to heart when I say it. It's a fine line between like sharing like my actual beliefs and what I feel and think and what went into making that decision, with it coming across as judgy or like if you don't agree with me, I think you're bad, or oh gosh, this is kind of hard, you guys. I hope you understand what I'm saying and take this the right way, and know that I fully support you 100% no matter what choice you made or are going to make. Okay, I'm beating a dead horse, but I just really want you guys to know that I am not judging you right now. Okay, so let's talk about some of the reactions from the people in my life when I made this decision and started telling people what I was planning to do. So I think for my immediate family, my sister and brother were just kind of like, all right, cool, whatever, no big deal. My parents were really supportive. My dad especially was like, I think that's freaking awesome. You do you, like, I fully support you. I'm 100% behind that. My mom was supportive, and I don't want to make what I'm about to say seem like she wasn't supportive, because my mom is the most supportive person ever and totally 100% believes in me and will support me in whatever choice I make. But she had a little bit more of a hard time understanding, I'll say. I had some interesting conversations with her as we got closer, of just her checking in with me and making sure, like, you sure you want to do this? You sure you want to make this decision? And I think for her, what it came down to was she was worried down the line about how it would complicate our kids. My mom was a school teacher for years and years. She's retired. And I think she was honestly thinking practically about our poor little first graders one day having to write out 5,000 names or whatever decision we choose to make about our kids. More on that later. So I think my mom was concerned with the practicality of it more than, being against what it meant or what it stood for. She would never go against any sort of belief like a woman having her own choice to, decide whatever name she wanted. But we did have some interesting conversations where I had to kind of break the ice with her a little bit about how it was all gonna work. So, Mom, don't hate me when I put this in, this is true. And once again, she is like the most supportive human on planet Earth, and never once was like, ew, you shouldn't do that, or no, I don't believe in that, or, it was nothing that dramatic. It was just like a, tell me more about this kind of thing. And she, of course, was fully supportive, and it's no big deal. And pretty much everybody in my immediate life was like, you do you, man, that's a great decision, I support you, cool, not that big of a deal. So other people's reactions were hilarious. It's not a question that people typically ask when you get married. It's where are you going on your honeymoon, or what are your wedding colors, or when are you guys gonna have kids? But it's never like, so are you keeping your last name or changing it? Like, that's not a part of normal traditional marriage engagement culture. And so I always found myself stumbling into the conversation somehow, where we're talking about something totally different and then it comes up for whatever reason and kind of catches people off guard and catches them by surprise. And I had every reaction from people being like, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard. Yes, girl power, you keep your last name, that's awesome. To people being like, oh, how interesting, tell me more. Like, people not getting it at first, but being really open to listen and like hear my point of view and really intrigued and want to know more, which I really respected and appreciated. And then I would have the people that would be like, what does Eric think about that? Is Eric okay with that decision? I'm really worried about Eric in this decision about what your last name is gonna be, Miley. And that's totally fine. Like, I brushed that question off the way I always typically answered that question, because 9 times out of 10, they had the best intentions and did not mean to be offensive. And it wasn't offensive to me. It wasn't that big of a deal. It's just kind of a little bit of an off-putting question that people don't realize is off-putting until they've said it or heard my response. And so I always just kind of tried to brush it under the rug and answer in the simplest way, which is, I wouldn't have married Eric if he had a problem with it. He's fine. Just to appease the people that are still wondering, yeah, but really, like, what did Eric think? I'll bring Eric in. I will have him tell you his perspective, his point of view, because while it is absolutely my choice and personal to me as an individual, I'm getting married. I'm forming a life and a partnership and one unit with this person, and want to make sure that they're okay with my decision too. And without further ado, here comes Eric to tell you more. Hello, Eric.
Hello.
Welcome to the video.
This is weird.
I thought I'd do this interview style because I didn't want to talk over you or insert my own opinion about what your opinions were. So
you're going to be quiet and not interject?
Yeah, I am, but I'm going to interview you, so shut up. Okay, so tell me, what did you think about me keeping my last name?
I mean, obviously the short version and the story that we tell people is like, I was fine with it. Like, it wasn't a big deal and there was zero issue with it at all. But I remember when you first told me, and there were multiple conversations surrounding it, I remember having a reaction not because it was like important to me or like I'm a traditionalist, but you have this notion for your entire life about the way something's going to go, and then the first time that is challenged, it's just kind of jarring. And so, growing up in Oklahoma in a conservative household, it was just like, yeah, when you get married one day, the woman that you marry will take your last name. And so to then have the woman that I am choosing to marry not do that. But no, I mean, once I had time to acclimate to it, it wasn't a big deal. We had a couple conversations, and you actually at one point were kind of teetering a bit about hyphenating.
Yeah.
I remember. But
it wasn't close, but I did consider it.
Yeah. So, and I remember you, for a very brief period, thought about just surprising me with it, having the officiant at our wedding announcing it without telling me.
Yeah, those were pipe dreams, mostly about making you happy and not making myself happy, which it's my last name, so I had to make myself happy ultimately. And were you okay with that decision?
I feel like you're interrupting me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, keep going.
No, it was fine. Like you said, it's your last name, not mine. I'm not marrying you to have you take my last name. Like, that's not the function of our marriage. So I didn't care.
And now that we've been married, what, 4.5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Almost 4.5 years. How do you think it's affected us? Or do you think it hasn't?
I don't think it has. I think if you would have taken my last name, I don't think anything would be different.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, thanks for coming to this TED Talk.
Smash that subscribe button.
Okay, goodbye, Scrimple. Okay, so there you have it. That's what Eric thinks, and he basically thinks, who cares? So that's great. Okay, so to finish off this video, I just want to talk about some common questions I get, some kind of inconveniences now that Eric and I have been married for 4 years, about how keeping my last name has changed things or not changed things. Like you just heard Eric and I kind of discussing, it's really not that big of a deal. It hasn't changed much, but I think there are a couple things that have proven to be good, bad, interesting, and I want to talk about those. The only time that having a different last name than Eric is super annoying is when I have to set up a bank account or talk to our insurance or make a new appointment for our dogs at the vet, or just something that has joint information that I have to tell a stranger over the phone or in person, instead of just saying, like, for example, like with our new vet that we switched to once we moved to Oklahoma City. I had to go through the explanation of, my name is Miley Hopkins, these are my dogs, get all that information in the system, and then they ask the question, is there an authorized person you'd like to add to your account, or is it just you? And I say, no, it's my husband as well, his name is Eric. And if I leave it at that, they're gonna write his last name as Hopkins because I've already told them my last name is Hopkins. And so I just always have to say, yes, I'd like to add my husband Eric. He actually has a different last name than me. It is Strimple, Strimple, and that's that. So that's the really only time it gets annoying, but that's not even annoying. It's just something I have to be intentional about being upfront to tell people so they aren't confused. Which leads to another funny thing that just is so random and just happens to be the fact. Some people, and it doesn't happen often, but some people do think that I'm not a Hopkins, that Eric is the Hopkins, and that I married into the Hopkins family, which is freaking hilarious because I happen to have an uncle named Eric Hopkins, who's a dentist and a hilarious person, but definitely not my husband. And so people do get kind of confused if they know my family well enough to know who we are, but not well enough to like know us really well. They're like, Miley Hopkins, so, and your husband's Eric, so what? And I just always explain, no, I'm Matt's daughter or Shelly's daughter or whatever. And I actually just kept my last name. My husband is Eric Strimple. So that's a little kind of funny family anecdotal thing that we have to very occasionally kind of explain to people who know our family but don't really know us. So that's kind of just a funny thing. Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about is something that people ask us a lot is, when we have kids, how will we name our children? And number one, Eric and I have no plans to currently have children and probably won't for a long time or even at all. That's a total other video we should absolutely do, is weighing the pros and cons of why we should and shouldn't have children. Because honestly, Eric and I really just like each other and like being with each other and around each other and doing life together, and could probably not have children and be super content and fine. And there are a lot of things about having children that scare us, especially in today's world. Bringing a child into this world is terrifying. We've also talked about things like foster care and adoption and potentially going that route. Wow, this is turning into a whole nother video. So if you want to hear more about what Eric and I's views on having kids is, and if we're gonna have kids, how we're gonna have kids, if we're not gonna have kids at all, comment down below and let me know that you want us to film that video, because that could be very interesting. We've got a lot of opinions and a lot of conflicting views and uncertainty with that whole topic. So I say all of this with a total grain of salt that who knows if we'll even have children, but if we do have children one day, what the heck are we gonna do about their last name? My last name is Hopkins, Eric's last name is Strimple. Our children equally belong to both of us, so what do you do? And our short answer is, we don't know. We're gonna cross that bridge when we get to it, if we ever do have children. But some things that we've tossed around are either giving our children 2 last names, no hyphen, just Hopkins Strimple at the end of their name, and if they want to shorten it on papers when they're in class and just write Strimple or just write Hopkins, they can, who cares. We've also considered hyphenating to make it Hopkins Strimple, but that does not sound good together because Hopkins ends in an S and Strimple starts with an S, and so Hopkins Strimple, that is a total mouthful, and I don't really want to curse our children with that hyphen of having to write it every time, having to say it every time. Another option is to make Hopkins all of our children's middle name, And I don't like that idea, personally, just because, especially if they're coming out of me, if I'm birthing them, then why should my name be the name that is resorted to be used as the middle name, you know? And also, H comes before S in the alphabet, and so H is a much better spot to be in than S, really, when you think about it. All this to say, there are lots of possibilities, and we will figure out what works best for us and our family and our children when and if, and it's a big if, we ever get to that point. But we're not worried about it. We'll figure it out, we'll come to the best decision, and we'll let you know, I guess. I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for coming to this little sit-down chat with me being vulnerable and hoping that I'm not offending anyone or pushing my beliefs onto anyone or saying that my choice was the best choice. Once again, I'm not. This is just what I did as an individual for me that was right for me and felt like the best decision, and I haven't regretted it one day since. I'm really happy I stuck to it and fulfilled this promise I made to myself a long time ago, and it's just really been a great thing for me in my life. I think that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for coming to this little chat with me. Maybe we'll do some more videos like this, and maybe Eric and I will make a video about our views on kids and whether or not we're going to have them. That could be a juicy video, okay? So look out for that one, maybe sometime soon. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as that really helps us out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in our next video. Bye!